This is Flameland, my short, cute, colorful 2D platformer, and for the past few months now, I've been getting the game ready for Steam. Now, a lot has gone into that, including coding the game to work with controllers and making new button prompts and more, but today, I just want to talk about the Steam page. So first up was the capsule image. Now, I'm not an artist, but videos like the ones linked in the description tell me that illustrated capsule images are essential for making a project look professional. They also tell me that capsule images can be a genre signifier. See, when people are looking through Steam, they're looking for games that are similar to games they already enjoy, so I need a way to say, look, a 2D platformer. Those games seem to have the main character front and center, so we'll start by making Flame. I took a pose from the game and expanded it out, then tried drawing it and iterating on it. Eventually I got this. Not great, but an intermediate step. I looked at some Kirby art, thank you to my friend Seven for this art book from years ago. Some of the earlier art uses gradients, very 90s, but I'm not sure I like that as much as the stylized, cleaner shading that comes later. Oh, look at this. The shading and the gradients don't go all the way to the outline. I really like that effect. Here was my in-between capsule image, but I wasn't happy with it, so I tossed it. Trying again, I came up with this pose. I'm sure this common Kirby pose was on my mind, but I was also deeply interested in the cover art for Murtaugh. I asked Reddit for some feedback. Fix the logo. Good point. How's this? I'm taking more Kirby inspiration here. The wings touch the head. I redrew him, but I ended up liking the original better, so I should have followed this advice, but I didn't. The lines on some characters are too thick. Actually, that was my criticism, but here, redrawn. Someone on Reddit suggested using AI at one point. I'd love to say I took a principled stance against AI, that I would always commission an artist rather than trivialize their work with an AI image, and that was part of it, but also, I tried and didn't like what I got. These designs are way too complicated, they're just not what I'm going for. I ultimately didn't commission an artist either because I just don't think I'd be fun to work with. It seemed like I'd be spending at the very least $200, but likely a lot more, on a very negative experience, even if the product would be superior. And that's on me, not on the artists. Now, you need 6 different capsule images, which was exhausting. I really didn't expect making cover art to be this time consuming. Like, I don't think it occurred to me that all these images were different and had to be made separately. Okay, but I still had to do the screenshots. A few important considerations here. First, I wanted to make sure the HUD is visible. Shoppers look at the UI to get a feel for the game, and I don't want to frustrate them. I want them to see my UI and my HUD to understand what's going on. I also want the HUD to look different every time it appears, so that it looks like I took these screenshots naturally over a long period of time, and not rushed in one day. But I did take them rushed in one day. Second, I want the screenshots to show different actions you take. So the first one is standard gameplay. The second is selecting characters. The third is a high score page. That shows that you get high scores. But look, it also tries to show that you pick multiple characters each time and that you pick your route through the game each time. And the fourth screenshot is gameplay again, but operating a vehicle this time. And later screenshots show things like the minigame levels and unlocking different buildings in the town. Lastly, before taking the screenshots, I used the options to make the characters following you invisible. I just added this feature, and it immediately paid off because my screenshots and video are so much easier to read now, which is really important. Next came the description. Again, the thing people on Steam want is a game that is similar to games they already enjoy. I think Flameland has a lot of unique qualities, but let's start with inspired by Kirby's Adventure. I think the people who will enjoy this game most are likely to be about as obsessed with Kirby's Adventure as I am. And by the way, Pizza Tower's description opens with saying it's inspired by the Wario Land series, so I'm in good company with this opener. Okay, but how do I really want to describe this? I think it's almost like Sonic meets Kirby. I mean, it's like if Kirby's room-based levels sprawled with multiple paths, like in Sonic 1, Sonic 2. And it's like Kirby if you moved faster, closer to Sonic speed, but it's definitely not a momentum-based platformer. It's still very Mario. There's no manipulating slopes or anything, even though you can pick up a lot of speed. Oh, and the scores. The score system was imagined because of how my brother and his friend competed over Star Fox 64 high scores. I love the idea of a short story you could complete in one sitting, like the original Kirby's Dream Land, but I wanted something like the Star Fox 64 score system and level selection to give you reasons to replay. And Banjo-Kazooie's kind of an inspiration. I replayed a bit of that recently and remembered how full the levels were, how there were secrets around every corner. I felt for a while that Flameland is a game that alternates you between high scoring and exploring. So here's my attempt. A 2D platformer inspired primarily by Kirby's Adventure and secondarily by classic Sonic. A collectathon with new characters and exits hidden around every corner, and an arcade game in which you compete for high scores. Cute and colorful, snacky and full. But I've revised that like 5 times during this script writing, so I don't know what it will be by the time you listen to this. The longer description I wrote after the trailer. Pretty much no one will read the longer description, so it needs the least work, but anyone who does read it is looking for GIFs and images. It's primarily a check for effort, and GIFs look effortful. What text is there is short and snappy and tries to do pretty much the same thing the trailer does. Speaking of which, I needed to make a trailer. That was always going to be hard because the game's aspect ratio is based on the NES, which means it letterboxes on modern screens. I probably should have modernized the aspect ratio, but you know, hindsight. So one of the first things I did was look at other game trailers. Fallen Leaf is a game I've been watching out of pure envy. It's a pixel platformer whose artists have put in so much work and experience, and it looks incredible. And although it doesn't have the aspect ratio problem I have, this scene in the trailer was an inspiration to me. See how it puts the gameplay in a window and has a backdrop behind the gameplay? I can do that to hide the letterboxing effect. During the cover art drafts, I'd experimented with 90s geometry doodads, so I made a quick backdrop in ClickTeam Fusion with doodads scrolling at different speeds, and then I recorded that for a bit to use as background. See, now it's a style choice when the gameplay doesn't cover the entire screen. Also, I watched this video from a trailer expert, linked in the description, that mentioned some good trailer layouts. I'll be doing the text with gameplay, and according to his suggestion, the text will be about actions the player takes, not features the game has. So instead of 29 unique playable characters, I will say things like, build your team. And instead of multiple paths, I say pick your path. I usually make my videos in iMovie, but for the trailer I actually used Windows Clipchamp so that I could have multiple overlapping gameplay shots at once. Actually, you know what? The trailer's the last major thing I did for the page, so let's just close with that. When it's done, maybe you'll consider following the link in the description to wishlist it on Steam. Thank you so much for watching.